Welcome to the City Current Show, powered by Hagen-Botham Insurance and Financial Services.
This show focuses on sharing good news and powering the good in our community. Now here's your host, City Current CEO, Jeremy Park.
Welcome to the City Current Show, powered by Hagen-Botham. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference and powering the good. And that's why we're excited to be talking about Guitars for Vets. We're honored to have with us Patrick McGuire, Nashville Chapter Coordinator with Guitars for Vets. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. Thanks for having me. Good to see you, Jeremy. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, when you talk about the power of guitars and music to help veterans, there's a lot to unpack. Let's start with a little bit of history for the organization. So give us some background for Guitars for Vets.
So, I appreciate that. Thank you. So Guitars for Vets has been in existence since 2007. And the way it came about is there was a long-haired rock and roll guitar player up in Wisconsin. His name is Patrick McGuire, and he was giving lessons to a Vietnam-era Marine. And they were doing well, and this gentleman was like, you know what, I'm having a good time, but not only that, this is really helping my PTSD. So they got an idea and said, let's go down to the VA, let's talk to them, see if we could do some outreach, made some connections, looked good, formed a 501c3, and now, well, almost 20 years later, it's still going strong. We have roughly 170 chapters across the nation, and I say roughly because, they're all popping up. We've grown pretty aggressively in the last year. So let's say 170. And what we do is we give guitar lessons to veterans, most of which are suffering from some sort of difficulty and challenge relative to their service. And we get referrals for the most part from the VA, Recreational Therapy Department. So they identify individuals that are interested and good candidates and might benefit, from a clinician's point of view, that they might benefit from an activity like learning how to play guitar. So we give them 10 one-hour lessons, one-on-one instruction. We loan them a guitar during that process. Most people are beginners and they don't own a guitar. Some do, but most don't. So we'll give them a guitar. They keep the guitar with them the whole time. And then when they're done with the 10 lessons, they give us back the loaner. We give them a brand new guitar that they keep for themselves, and as well as some accessories, a stand, a capo, a strap, a tuner, things like that. But the impetus of the program and the real benefits and the sort of magic of the program lies in what happens when you sit down with an instrument, in this case, a guitar, and just really apply yourself and try to learn how to play, because number one, you're trying to look for some fun, have a little joy, whether you want to play like, Charlie Daniels or punk rock or, country music, whatever, it usually starts in the same place and then you kind of fan out from there. So that's the sort of obvious, hey, this is fun, this is cool if you like music. The other thing is because it's so difficult to learn the guitar or learn any instrument or new task, it requires a lot of you in the moment. I'm not a veteran. Some of our instructors are veterans, some are not. So when I first started doing this, I was like, guitar can be pretty frustrating. It's been frustrating me all my life, and yet I love it, but it can be very frustrating. And you have moments where you doubt yourself and you're like, I don't have it. I wasn't born with it. It can be kind of painful even, you know what I mean? If it's important to you. But, so it was a paradox. I'm like, how can this help someone with PTSD? My understanding of PTSD, there's, lots of troubling thoughts, negative emotions, frustration, anger. And that's all true. But veterans have explained to me in their own words, they say, actually, when I pick the guitar up, because it's so difficult, that is why it pulls me away. It requires me to be there fully, and it pulls me away from some of the troubling things. And the neuroscience behind that is really amazing. Your brain can rewire itself. So if you have a troubling thing you're trying to get away from and you replace it with a different new activity, you are literally forming new connections in your brain and your nervous system. And, you can create sort of those new pathways that your mind can, meander about rather than just looping around on negative stuff. So, that's sort of in the background. And I'm not a clinician or a neuroscientist, but, it's pretty cool when you look at it from that point of view. And it's a very magic moment. One of the things that I will tell people, the first day we're together, I'll say, remember, you're going to have this moment. You're going to feel like whatever you're trying to do in the moment is impossible. It's going to feel like in your body, in your soul, I cannot do this. In that moment, that's probably true, but that's not static. Keep on asking, keep on trying, keep on practicing. And what happens is it takes a while for those new connections to be formed, right? But when they're formed, you reach for your guitar one day and the thing that was like almost impossible, now you're like doing it in your sleep. It's no big deal. And you're like, I can't believe this was even upsetting. So that moment is incredible because that's the proof that of the neuroscience, the new connections. And you just rinse and repeat on that. If you want to be a good guitar player or a good anything for that matter, that's what you got to do. You just got to keep going, keep rinsing and repeating, so to speak. And so I tell them that, and then everybody has a different experience. Most people have a good time and they want to keep going. Some people have said to me, you know what, I really appreciate you guys being here doing this for us. And I check the guitar out. I'm having a good time, but I'm probably not going to play a lot when I'm done with this. But I want to finish the program because I want to give this guitar to my granddaughter or my grandson or whatever. So that's fine too. That's absolutely appropriate. The whole thing is an exploration into music, into guitar. Is this going to be something that works for you? So whether they decide, yeah, it does, or yeah, it doesn't, it's a win, because now they know. So that's kind of the program in a nutshell. So it's very, positive. There's no like, you have to practice. There's no finger wagging, anything like that. It's all positive, and it's all there to service the veteran with the understanding that they're dealing with something and we want to help them. And I never ask. I'll listen if they want to talk, but I'll never ask like, hey, what happened or whatever. It's not my business. But the whole idea is we want to help them find this moment of joy in their life. And it's fun, man. I mean, for a guitar player, like, let me rephrase that. For a mediocre guitar player like myself, to be able to say I actually helped a veteran with my music, with a guitar, for me is very meaningful. And all the instructors that we have love that too. We're all on the same level frequency. Even, some of us are veterans, some of us are not. Some of us are elite veterans. Like we have one guy on our teaching squad he's a Navy SEAL, and a combat controller, and super cool dude, laid back, not like humble as they can be. And then he tells you like a little bit of what he did. It's like, oh my God, that's amazing. So, and then then you got guys like me who did not serve, have always had a reverence for our lifestyle, liberty, freedom, and the sacrifices that our veterans put up with, and our veterans' families for that matter too. It's really humbling. If you stop and think about all of that, it's an amazing thing, so they deserve the best, and we're here to help them find some music, so that was a long-winded explanation. You'll find I'm full of those, but that's sort of it in a nutshell.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I mean, obviously a very descriptive, piece of this, especially when you talk about the power of it. And I love the fact that you bring up the fact that learning guitar is difficult, and especially at the onset, but that's the part, especially the competitive spirit, that drives you to want to excel. And so you immerse yourself in and you start, wanting to really play every day and practice all day. And that helps rewire. And then the creativity side of learning how to play your favorite songs and learning to write your own songs. And like, it just leads to a lot on both the overcoming the difficulty and learning how to play it, and also the creativity and that emotional element over here. So both sides of the brain being used, which is a unique part of music and a unique part obviously of guitar. So I love that. This also is driven by volunteers heavily. So talk about the power of volunteerism for Guitars for Vets.
Great point. G4V, as we like to refer to it as, Guitars for Vets, we're all volunteers, and the way I found out about it was I was sort of, following my love and passion of music. There's a guitar player that's one of my favorite guys. His name's Tommy Emanuel. He's a fingerstyle player, kind of in the vein of Chet Atkins from Australia, but he's sort of like a world citizen. He's got houses over the planet. He's one of the greatest guitar players I've ever seen in my life. I've seen him a bunch of times, and he talks about Guitars for Vets from the stage. He's a Guitars for Vets ambassador. So that wasn't news to me. I'd heard him talk about it before, and I thought, well, that sounds pretty cool, to give guitar lessons to veterans. And I was at one of his shows. This is back in December of 2016. I was walking by the merch table, and I saw a dude at the end of the table with some Guitars for Vets literature. So I chatted him up, and it was a guy by the name of Brandon. He had just gotten out of the Air Force, and he was starting the local chapter. And so I was like the number 2 guy in on it. And that was really cool. We were talking, and I taught a little bit, back in the day, like when I was like 18, 19, 20 kind of thing. And but it'd been a long time. So he's like, you want to check it out. So that's how I got into it. By and large, the little cliquey circles of guitar players, that's kind of how it metastasizes. I mean, I live in Franklin. We teach up in Clarksville. So, the guitar teacher up in Clarksville, some of his friends, hey, I know a guy who wants to check it out, give him a call, talk, he wants to teach, that kind of thing. So it fans out from there. So we've started from Nashville locally, and then we started teaching in Clarksville, and we have 2 locations in Nashville now. And then we're trying to stand up a location in Murfreesboro. I've had a couple instructors down there that have had to move on for various reasons. Just life stuff, had a baby, lost a job, got a job, that kind of stuff. So it's all about word of mouth, volunteers, and that's important because there's a perception sometimes. Oh, Guitars for Vets. You guys are affiliated with the VA. You work with the VA. You are the VA. No, no. It's we're all volunteers, and it's kind of a ramshackle group of guys and women that want to help. But you might call me, and if I call you 2 or 3 days later, and not right away, call you back, it's because I'm busy doing my day job. I mean, you got to do all the stuff you got to do. And then you're like, all right, now I can do G for V. So you get, I'm sure you understand. We all have that thing, like the stuff you got to do until you get to do the stuff you want to do. And that's all of us, right? So it's really important too, because as a volunteer, and this is really important, everybody's concerned about, am I good enough? Am I a good enough musician? Do I have the chops to be able to do this? It's a great question. And the good news is, you have to be able to play, but you don't have to be an amazing guitar player. I mean, you have to be able to kind of address the fundamentals and get somebody started. All right. So that's sort of half of the job as a Guitars for Vets instructor. Teach a little bit of guitar, meet them where they are, which is usually at 0.0, and move them to the right. The other half, and maybe even the most important half, is create an experience that is just fun. Like, you want to have a good time. There's no negative judgment. There's no pressure of like, hey, your mom's paying for these lessons, young man. You really should buckle down. None of that. That's important because the instructors want to know that, And the other reason why that's important is when I meet an individual that's interested in instruction, I look for a very specific quality, and it's described really accurately in an acronym that our founder created. He calls it Get on the Same Page with the Veteran. PAGE, patience, acceptance, gratitude, and empathy. And, those words can sound kind of trite at times, but when I meet with somebody, we get a cup of coffee or whatever, we just chat about stuff, and I'm just looking for that quality of, sort of a calmness, a sort of an understated statement or articulation of, I care about veterans. I care about what's happening with them. I kind of, my heart breaks for the stuff that they go through when I think about that kind of thing. And we're not all syrupy about that, but that quality of being able to view the veteran through a lens of compassion and empathy, gratitude, and such, super important. And you got to have a little patience too, right? I mean, patience for the veteran, you get my point. So that's really important, and probably the most important thing. So if someone's out there listening going, oh man, that sounds cool, I'd love to do that. I'm a little intimidated, I'm not sure if I'm good enough. Chances are you are. If you can do like 3 chords in the truth, if you can play a Johnny Cash song or a Sex Pistols song, you can do this. It's not about musical rigor so much as it's about connection and looking for that fun, just having a good time. And you can do that with a little bit of music and a little bit of rhythm, and man, stuff starts happening, and it's a lot of fun. So
how can the community help Guitars for Vets? Because obviously volunteerism, just like we talked about, donation of guitars, financial contributions. What are some ways the community can help?
So all those things are on the table, absolutely. Right now, if I had to choose one, I would say financial contribution, because last year we grew a lot nationally. And now we're kind of being challenged nationally with some of the operational challenges that rapid growth brings, such as, how do you forecast for how many guitars you need month to month to month when you have 170 chapters of volunteers, right? And the coordinators are volunteers too, such as myself. If they're not organized and they're not putting in all the information about, who's in lessons and what lesson they're at and all that, it becomes impossible to forecast. So we're dealing with those challenges now. I often get donated guitars, which is incredible. As a matter of fact, this is my second time sitting with City Current for a discussion like this. And after the first time we did it, it took about 10 months, 9 months, but I got a call back from you guys. Hey, we got somebody to call. Then they have a guitar they want to donate. And not only that, the guitar is absolutely beautiful. It's a brand new Epiphone Hummingbird. It was gorgeous, real nice road case. So that's really great. So donated guitars are always welcome. Instructors' time, always welcome. And probably to top all that, it would be financial contributions. And what that looks like specifically is, like, I'm not asking you to come up to me and give me money. You can go to our website and I'll share that with you later. But there's a donate button, and those donations go right to the corporate office, which is in Wisconsin. And even when we're out at shows and we have like merch, like a guitar show or a veterans resource fair or something like that, we'll set up a tent and tell everybody about Guitars for Vets. We got hats and shirts and whatnot, and I will sell those. And when someone pays cash for them, and this is really important for people listening, just the sort of financial hygiene of nonprofit. If someone pays cash for a shirt or a hat or whatever, of course I sequester that. I never commingle that with my funds personally. And then I'll go to the bank right away and I get a cashier's check made out to Guitars for Vets. I send it into our accountants with a letter explaining where it came from, and then whoever was involved with the event that I was working, I send them a copy of that too. Like, I'll snap a picture of the letter, the envelope, the cashier's check, and just so they know, like, in the spirit of transparency, this is going to the home office. Every now and then you hear these financial scandals of nonprofits, and it sort of sours people. So I want to make sure that that's very clear. We need money, but I don't need money. The corporate the entity does. And what else was I going to say surrounding that? I guess that's about it.
Acoustic and electric guitars, just acoustic?
Well, so we do our thing with acoustic, right? That's like 6-string acoustic. If someone has electric guitar, we'll definitely accept it. And if a guitar is really nice, like it has a value of $500 or more on the open market, we have a reverb.com website that the national entity does. And Reverb is like the eBay for musicians and musical instruments. It's like gigantic, and you can get anything on there. So if we could sell something for $500 or more, we'll, with the consent of the donor, put it up there to fund the program. Sometimes donors will come and say, hey, this is my dad's guitar, or this is, it has sentimental value to me, but I want to give it to you. They might have a specific request, like, I want a veteran to receive this and I want them to play it. So I will honor that, and I'll hold that guitar for a while until an individual presents himself or herself that is all about it. Like they do Guitars for Vets, they love it, they want to continue. They're not going to take the guitar and put it in their closet. They're playing, right? So we'll give that guitar. And now if it's electric guitar, cool. So that we'll do that. But we do the 10 lessons with the acoustic. Because, the fundamentals, you can really approach from both instruments. And it's actually more fun, with the acoustic, because you don't need an amp, and you just, throw it on your back and go. And acoustic guitars are a little more difficult to play. The strings are, stiffer and thicker. And that's actually a good thing, because you're going to develop your technique in such a way that, it will serve your playing, whether you're playing electric or acoustic down the line. So we'll say yes. If it's a good guitar, we'll say yes.
Well, let's wrap up with contact information. Where do we go to learn more and get involved with Guitars for Vets?
Okay, so we have a website, www.guitarsforvets.org, and you can spell that out, the letter, the word for, F-O-R, or the number 4, both will work. When you go to the website, I mentioned the donate button. There's also a section for ambassadors, so you can see all the artists, many of which you'll recognize, that support us, and they'll have a little quote as to what it means to them to be involved with the Guitars for Vets. And we have a Facebook, presence too. Nationally, Guitars for Vets Nashville Facebook, and also each chapter has their own Facebook page. So, Guitars for Vets Nashville, if you want to find out what's happening there, you can check it out. You'll see pictures of graduations and that. I'm an old guy, so I'm not like, I don't have a black belt in Facebook, and I have no plans to get one. But I do put stuff up there, and it's fun. So if you're like in Iowa and you're like, well, this is cool. I was visiting my buddy in Nashville, but I live in Iowa. You can go. So, I don't know what's happening there. Go to the website. There's a section that says find a chapter. And you go there and you can identify, geographically where chapters exist and who the chapter coordinator is. There'll be a phone number and an email, or perhaps just an email. I have to check, but there's contact information. So you can do that and you really get a sense of what our mission is. In the past, we used to say it takes $200 to get somebody through the program, because that's basically what the guitar costs. They've revamped that, and they're sort of stating a higher number that what it costs, because they just calculated it differently. I don't know how they did it, but now I think they're saying like $1,500. That's sort of beside the point. That's sort of an operational, concept that is not terribly important. But, I want to mention it because if someone's looked at our website last year and they looked at this year, hey, that's different. There's some differences. They're changing some things, and there's some operational aspects that we're looking at. Anyways, that's what you do. www.guitarsforvets.org. Give us a holler, throw us a guitar, donate some time, donate some money. Thank you very much. We are out here trying to help our veterans, and there's a lot going on at the VA, right? The new administration's making a lot of changes in a lot of places in our country. The VA is certainly one. There's a lot of change happening. So a lot of that push for administrative burden and administrative support is being pushed out a little bit to some of the nonprofits. We're experiencing that. I'm experiencing that. So, we need you, and we're grateful for your support. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, Patrick, thank you for all you and your amazing team at Guitars for Vets do to power the good. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks so much, Jeremy. Good to see you. Appreciate it.
Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services is proud to power the City Current Show. We're a people-first company that protects what matters most, the families, businesses, and trailblazers that keep our community going. As one of the nation's top independent insurance firms, Higginbotham is a single-source solution for business insurance, employee benefits, HR services, and personal insurance that's customized for you. We're here to serve you, the people you care about, and your community. Call 866-377-1959 or visit higginbotham.com.